All right. Well, welcome to the welcome to the Sin City Programmer Meetup. So today we're going to have Brendan go over a project he's been working on, and we're all going to learn. And since we are a very tight community, we're all going to be in a round circle. So one of the things I am going to say is if anybody is participating, has thoughts, comments, whatever else, we need to get this mic in front of you or else the viewers at home will not know about it. So with that, my name is Josh. I have a small software company and I love Las Vegas. And today we're going to be speaking with Brendan, who's going to tell us all about a project he's been working on. We're going to ask him some questions and see where it goes. So with that,
the chair.
Here you go.
Well, look at this nice chair. All right, before we actually get into it, I ran into a really interesting logistical issue in that my computer is in the shop. So I am unable to, so that's why we're waiting for Gabriel to get here so that he can bring his laptop. I've given him my GitHub repo, he's cloned it down, we're gonna go through the code, and speak of the devil, hello.
Hey, hi everybody.
How's it going?
Sorry for the delay.
He's here, he's here.
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, you're good. So I just want to ask you guys, what do you guys do in terms of like programming or technology? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. So I'm Ron. I'm in analytics. So I'm mostly Python focused, and so I guess some of the stack that I would use is Apache Airflow. Then obviously the data frame technology, Pandas, Polars, DuckDB, and whichever cloud stack I'm using for whatever company that I'm working at. So it could be just AWS, Redshift, things like that. But yeah, I'm on the data side.
Hi, I'm Adam Montano. I'm really into, I'm a software developer. I'm really into, I'm learning Rust right now, and it's been really exciting. I've been really loving working with Rust. I'm super into Linux. I'm a big Linux nerd. I'm really into just like open source software in general. I've been working as a software developer for about 5 years now. I've worn quite a few different hats. I've been a data engineer. I've been software developer. I've been like, I've been pretty much most of my software development that I've done has been game development related, actually.
Oh, cool.
Because I've worked here in Vegas and Reno working in the casino tech world, making slot machine games and stuff like that. Right now I'm between jobs because I just got laid off, so it's been exciting.
Ain't that the way?
Yeah.
Same one. That's it.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, not alone. Oh, I know I'm not alone. I'm on LinkedIn all day.
Yeah.
Well, we should all definitely connect after this whole thing's done.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I've been looking for something to do. So yeah, this all sounds really exciting. So that's enough about me. So.
All right, that's great because we're not in competition with each other.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
This is great. So you're more into like low-level stuff. You're into like a lot of the kind of like cloud infra stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking more back end, but yeah.
Cool. I am a programmer who does trendy web dev stacks like Next.js, React, all of those things that are up there. And I don't know how much exposure you guys actually have with those things in particular. Have you
The only thing
touched
I
them
know
at all?
is recently TypeScript went to Go, and that's been causing a lot of.
That's so cool. I have not updated. Yeah.
Rolling out.
Is it like a totally new major version of it?
I think it's like a compiler.
Yes.
Like the compiler
Wow.
is written in Go, or maybe you know more. I don't know.
No, I think it's actually more similar to Go. I don't know if it directly uses Go. I'm not sure.
I think Microsoft is using Go.
And
At
just
least-
replaced it.
For their compiler?
Yeah, for TypeScript compilation.
Right. I mean, because TypeScript fundamentally, it's just a superset of JavaScript. So you're just kind of sitting up there using the same interfaces and the same generics that you always are, right? So, yeah, but under the hood. Yeah, under the hood, it's.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Quite. Would you like to go into your code?
Yeah. Why don't we go into it? Are you?
I have the entire product ready to show off.
Oh.
I have the code loaded up in my editor. A couple unorthodox settings here and there, but everything is ship shape, ready to go.
So you cloned my repo. Since I don't have my environment and I don't want to show these guys all of this stuff, I can't give you the environment variables. So it might be better to deploy the live site or show the live site and then have the code editor up so that we can actually look at the functionality of it.
It's just typing in the URL away.
Yep, sounds good.
Well, let me.
Okay, cool.
Have you come up here, and if you guys want to scoot on up,
Yeah, it might be better.
because then we're all just in a little circle. It's really intimate.
Yeah. Do you want to be on the outside or the inside?
You know what, Brendan? If you
I don't know if I want to move Ryan's rig here because, yeah. We could.
Let's just leave it how it is, and then we can see the screen. You can see the screen right there.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Sounds good.
And then just turn your chest out so that you're still the presenter.
Yes, I forgot my theater training. Yeah. Hello.
Did you go to theater?
Oh yeah. I was just telling Josh about how I was in opera as a kid and everything.
Oh wow.
All this nonsense.
Yeah, real theater. So
For some reason.
go to LVA or?
No, my life story. Maybe we can get into it another time. But yeah.
Well, let's show off the live site. Go ahead and type it in.
Is this Arc?
This is Arc.
This is Arc.
I love Arc.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So.
It seems really pop and gimmicky, but it is actually fantastic.
Are these the like new school ones like Ladybird or whatever the new school browsers have that were off of Firefox and Chrome?
Ladybird is cool because I think they're developing their completely own browser engine, aren't they?
This
Whereas
is just Chrome.
Arc is Chromium.
This is just Chrome, like under the hood.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the settings page that comes up is Chrome://settings.
wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
Every browser's Chrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Chrome.
It's just got a bunch of settings, and the UI is completely different.
Cool.
Yeah.
Also, is this for like D&D or something?
It is for D&D.
Okay.
Right. This is kind of like a pet project of mine that kind of is sitting in the limbo space between being a toy project and being a project that I actually think I could sell to people.
Yes.
It's sort of in the middle, and the MVP is done, but I'm going to keep on adding new features to hopefully increase the value proposition for people.
Excuse me, could you two sit like right here beside me?
Yeah.
And that way we can see Brendan perfectly on the video. There we go.
So
Yeah.
I guess since you sussed that out, right? Like, what do you know about D&D DMs or GMs? Like, what's their job? What are they doing?
Create the world.
Right.
To propose scenarios for the players to do things and to kind of keep things organized for like the story.
Exactly,
figure out,
Adam.
Okay, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah. So that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And a lot of people are really bad at it, but they do it, and then no one has a good time.
Oh, right.
So I wanted to fix that. And the idea is if you plan these sessions right, if you plan these scenes right, hopefully people will be able to scaffold them in such a way that there's at least a baseline that ensures that they're going to at least be all right. And there are a couple of frameworks that are used. I do a lot of reading of different blogs of different ways people plan, and I just lifted one out and built an entire app around that framework. All right? So I think, I only had one finger. Oh, you're using hot corners.
I'm using hot corners, yeah.
I'll be careful.
Please. But yes, the mouse is normal otherwise.
Okay, so just a real quick overview of the app before we do anything.
Definitely.
Gabe, do you mind if I make you an account on Google? I'll totally delete it if you don't want it there anymore.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll just let you
You can even use mine if you want.
go ahead.
There we are. And now you got yourself another user.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we are. Is this where I should be?
All right, so it kicks you out to the outline builder. Basically, it's 3 steps. You have general overview information inside. Whoa. I don't want to open your Docker.
Oh, yeah.
In there, you have landmarks. Landmarks own,
Or landmarks like places?
yeah, they own interactables, and interactables own, whoa. Interactables own secrets.
So it goes scene, landmark, interactable, secret.
Right,
It's a hierarchy.
it's completely hierarchical.
Okay.
Right. And, you can just go in, make a bunch of them. Eventually, you get an overview that just shows it to you in a nested way.
Okay.
And let's say I'm Gabe, and I want to save it. I think
Can you save it empty?
you can save it empty. Actually, no, I think it kicked you out to the tutorial, so instead, let's go to a new outline, because it's completely different.
Great. Yeah, I think that was the tutorial. And
Yeah, I just forgot that it was the tutorial. So here, I'll do this real quick.
okay, definitely.
Okay, so let's say that you're going into a scene. You're in a dungeon. Let's have a treasure chest, right? And let's have the bookshelf. Simple.
So landmarks aren't places. They're just things of interest within the scene.
Right, they're items in a scene, right? And for each landmark, you can give it interactables, right? So landmarks own interactables. It's a one-to-many thing. So I can go, okay, when you interact with the treasure chest, maybe you might notice that there's a lock. Maybe you might notice that there's a pressure plate in front of the treasure chest. Ooh, don't know what that's going to do, right? Maybe the bookshelf has, yeah, roll perception. Maybe the bookshelf has, I don't know, some weird bookends or something. And then each of those interactables gets a secret. And then for each of those secrets, you can have rolls that can be successful or failure. It's very D&D based, right? Eventually, you get to the end, and you have a nested view that's very easy to watch. So save it. It'll kick you out to your overview, and it will be very easy for you to reference.
Okay, so I love the spinning save icon. It's wicked. But also, what's the simulate button do?
The simulate button, there's our good old GPT-4o mini integration.
Icon, so yeah.
I know, why do they always pick stars?
Yeah.
It's always AI, like AI for stars. Or stars for AI.
So this is going to do better if you give it more detail when you push the scene in, but it's been told to make stuff up if it finds anything missing. So it kind of functions as a writing aid.
Oh, okay.
Right. Right now, it is being annoying.
So
Did I
you
not have
give it
enough
like
time?
more flavor text of like something
Is it-
about the treasure chest?
Is it
Yeah.
already contextualized with like, oh, act as a D&D GM or a DM, or is it just bare, a GPT?
Yeah, I have like this massive system prompt that I feed into it.
Okay. So it was right.
It knows what it's doing.
Okay.
Right now, all of this it's making stuff up, right? You find yourselves in a dimly lit chamber. I didn't say that, it made that up. The air thick with dust. Like, you could tell it to say something else. And it's going to ask you, okay, what do you want to investigate further? The treasure chest or the bookshelf? I want to examine the lock, or I want to investigate the pressure plate. I want to look closely at the bookshelf. Well, let's try to open the treasure chest, right? So let's send it another little request here.
Wait. So these are player prompts, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Right.
see.
Right. Now, it's going to give you a couple of options. We don't have to read all the flavor text here. Attempt to pick the lock. Now, here is where you can roll.
Nice.
However, I am not trying to replace the DM.
Okay.
I think AI as a tool for the craft is better than an AI as a tool that replaces the craft.
Yeah.
So it's a writing aid. So instead of giving you 1 to 20, as you would normally get with a dice roll, you just tell it how successful you want it to be. And you're basically just walking through it and having it go through your ideas, enhance your ideas with more detail, and if you want, when you've reached the end of your scene, you can tell it to keep going, and it'll keep going.
Yeah.
And whatever you get from there, you're able to just take those ideas and bring them back into your own outlines to continue developing a session.
Okay, so it's like they'll do a semi playtest with simulated players.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, not real players. It's kind of like, it's the DM and it's you.
Yeah.
So it's really just a writing aid.
So say if I
Hello?
actually really want to see it keep going and going and going. I want to see exactly how that would play out. This projector's not friendly.
Yeah, sometimes.
There we go. Also, I saw a mic here earlier. Is it still around?
Yeah. This one?
Excellent.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
we should have you guys talk into that because I
Yes,
think that that's
exactly.
connected up to. So,
Perfect.
cool. Okay, we can see it keep going. Let's say I pick the lock. I succeed. And I'm going to even say, I wonder what's in here. Maybe there's some gold.
And is that you as the DM or is that you as a player?
That's you as a player.
Okay.
You can feed it more flavor text to give it direction.
Okay, so if you were the DM, you would, the player would say something in front of you, and then you just type it in.
Pretty much. Again, you're not using this to run a session. You're using this to plan a session.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that actually helps a whole bunch.
Yeah. So, it can keep going. Look inside the treasure chest. Why not? I didn't write anything about what's in the treasure chest.
So this is totally a surprise to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
The interior is lined with a deep crimson velvet, and nestled among the soft fabric are various items that glimmer temptingly in the torchlight. Gold coins spill over the edges. It might have given you the gold thing, but I'm pretty sure it gave you gold because I was like, I wonder if there's gold.
Oh, okay.
Because LLMs are super suggestible. They kind of just go with whatever you're asking them. So it's just you being able to gently push and look for it to give you detail back. And the engineering behind it is pretty simple. But what I like about it is how quickly you can spin it up.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I saw, so earlier you kind of clicked and held and it slid. Can you just swipe back?
It's swipeable.
That's pretty neat.
I mean, you do it on your phone, you'll swipe it.
Okay, no, yeah, that's
It works.
So this is not just like a desktop or like it's a web app that can be used in, it's reactive, it can be used on the phone.
Yep.
Or the intended eventual targets. So targets can be laptop, tablet, or in multi-device.
Yeah, I haven't made a native version of it. It's just a web app.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's totally responsive, and I built it specifically first to be usable by a phone.
Oh, so it's mobile first. Okay, wicked.
Yeah.
Very wicked.
Yep. So, I actually want to get into the code because
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested whether you guys have seen much of like the trendy stack that people are
it's-
using on the front end nowadays.
So we went into this a little bit, and it is indeed very trendy. Let me know what you'd like me to change here, because I know I'm a little weird sometimes.
You're good. I'm just not so used to JetBrains stuff. This is WebStorm, isn't it?
Yeah, this is WebStorm.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I can navigate it for you, or you could take the reins. Either way.
Yeah, that's fine. We can just go into the tree.
Go for it. Go for it.
So,
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Where do you want to start?
well, where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start on the front end or the back end? Is there any preference you guys have?
I mean, I'm more into back-end kind of stuff, so
Yeah, we can look at the back end.
yeah.
Cool.
The back end is dead simple. So I'm using a React framework called Next.js, which you guys probably have heard about, right? And the cool thing about Next.js is it actually provides very simple tools to actually build out routes and controllers and services for a backend without having to actually, spin up like a dedicated server. It just works right inside the mono repo, inside the file structure of Next itself. And it's not going to be as fully featured as a backend, so if you want to do a lot of configuration, do really specific things, Next is not the best choice. But if we go into the source folder,
You could drag it out also if you want to show it a little more.
oh, sure. So go into the source folder, into app, and the way Next.js works is it uses file-based routing. So these folders are the directories that are the paths in the application. So right here you have layout.tsx and page.tsx. This is just the home root, right? And let's say if I wanted to go to the overview, I know you said you wanted to do backend, but this is like just a little, I'm leading into it. Page.tsx here is /overview, right? So this is kind of like, this is what you see when you go to /overview.
Does it say it on the in the file?
No, I mean, it's implied.
That's okay.
Like, because you have,
Oh, I see. I was
because the folder's name is overview.
Yeah.
When you go to
that's great.
/overview.
On the app itself. Yeah.
Right, so you don't actually
Okay.
have to configure the routing in some kind of file where you
Right.
specify what goes where. You just put them in the folders.
For sure. And the page.tsx is the template for the overview route.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. But what I like about Next.js, and this is actually an old way that people write Next, they've done something totally new since then, which we can go into, is in API, there's your service. So the app /API, and here are your API routes. So we were just doing the chat, right? So I'm going to go to Let me go to outline ID. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Simulate. If we go to the route here, you just export a function called post. And that's a post controller.
Wow.
That's pretty
And you
simple.
can write an entire post service in here. In this case, I've written a post service that calls, where the heck did I put it? I put this somewhere. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong file. It's been a while.
Do you need Converse?
Yeah, I meant Converse, because
Oh.
Converse is calling the get structured response service, which is the AI helper.
Okay.
Right, but you kind of see, like, I'm just going to /API/simulate/converse, and every time I hit that with a post request, it knows to go here. And so just routing it in this way, instead of having to, write a bunch of, I guess, what frameworks do you guys use? Sorry?
No, I was saying a lot less. It's more loosely coupled, or I mean, it is just by this API, but is it just you have to write less interface code?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to do that much architecture in the back end. Like, the architecture is the file routing, and everything else is kind of just implicit to the framework. So it's a very opinionated framework, and some people don't like that, which I understand. But the convenience of developing this way is that you can just spin up the front end and the back end, and it's all in one place, and it's just really fast to spin up.
What is the framework called?
Next.js.
Oh, this is Next.js. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So something I'm wondering about is how can we differentiate between front end and back end responses? Because I know when I'm working on my apps, usually I set things up as a single page app. So there's a routing framework or a routing library that handles all the front end routing all on its own, and then
Yeah.
the back end takes, it's completely different. The routing setup for the back end is completely different. So how does it differentiate between the responses that you get from the front end and the back end here?
You mean because everything is in the same folder structure,
Yes.
how does it know when this particular route is a front-end route versus a back-end route?
That's right. I guess I'm just used to pages just switching to a certain page or component if it were in front-end routing or a single-page application, and then take data and load it into some variable or return it in a promise if it were a back-end route.
Well, it's actually really simple.
Well, tell me. That's
The file is called route.ts. That's it.
instead of page.
Instead of page.tss.
Instead of page. I should have known.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, Next has a lot of those weird specific framework things that you just kind of have to know.
Yeah, no, that's great. You could even put two of them in the same route.
I've never tried that.
A route and a page in the same route.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could. I've never done it.
That's possible. I don't know if it's like optimal, but you could do it.
Well, it would be weird, right? Because if you're going to that route in the browser, you're doing a GET request to that path,
Right.
right? So if you put a route.ts at the same place and then try to write a GET controller in that
Yeah,
route
yeah.
in the same directory as a page.tsx, that might confuse the framework a bit.
Absolutely. I wonder what would happen. Let's not find out, but I wonder what would happen.
I'm going to go home and try to find out.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
but
Good takeaway.
basically, that's it. When you get these square brackets, those are basically route params. So that's just whatever the outline ID is, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So that's basically how the API works. It's dead simple, right?
It is pretty simple.
That's what I like about it. There is a new way that Next.js actually has been recommending people do it, which is they are kind of messing with the client-server boundary, and they're having React components that are server rendered and then served.
Oh, cool. Like SSR.
Yeah, it's SSR, but what that means is that you kind of have a big mixture of server and client components sitting in your front-end directories, and personally that gets confusing for me.
Yeah.
The benefits of that is that obviously that could be faster for the client if everything is, fetched on the server, pre-rendered, and then just served, instead of having to load up the client and then get a bunch of data after the fact, right? But what I like about doing it the client way is just that it's easier to organize. The benefits of doing it the server way, besides that, is that you can actually do database queries directly in your React components, which in my head is kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's like people talk about like SQL injection and everything, and I think because they're server components, you avoid that problem because Next.js does its own magic and then serves something after it's done.
Yeah,
to the
because
client.
it serves compiled.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It
So
serves
you
when
can't
it's
quite
finished.
reverse engineer the query when you can't really read the code.
Right.
So I guess there's that.
So I stick with the API routes just because it's easier to organize in my head. Right. As for other backend, has anyone ever used an ORM called Prisma before?
I was excited about this.
I don't know anything about Prisma.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, this is awesome. So Prisma is an ORM. It's a JavaScript ORM, and I'm using it right now with Postgres. It just has, oh yeah, you don't even have the plugin, so it doesn't do the syntax highlighting. So it has its own language that's
I
basically
see.
just for defining tables. And you don't have to install it.
No, I want the pretty colors. Is it gonna make me restart it?
I don't know.
It's an art to use your trackpad at 90 degrees.
Here.
There. And
Oh, there we go.
we're in.
Okay, very nice.
Nice.
So Prisma's cool. When I first came to Tech Alley 2 years ago, there was a guy who was giving a presentation on Prisma.
Oh,
And
ironic.
it took me about a year before I bothered to try it. But when I tried it, I went, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
I like it. It used to be written in Rust, actually.
Oh, what changed?
I don't know. They unrusted it in their latest major. I don't know why. They said it was faster, and I'm like, yeah, but I thought Rust was fast. I don't pretend to understand the low-level code behind it. But Prisma's cool because you're basically just defining database tables just with this really simple syntax, right? Each item is a column, right? And then you see the column type, and then you pass in some options there. So in this case, you have the user model, so that'll be the users table, with just an int as the primary key. And then you just tell it, okay, this is the ID, this is, by default, just auto increment. So just standard SQL
Yeah.
primary key stuff, right?
Oh, and add ID will do that. That'll set it as the PQ. Or like what defines it as the what enforces that that's a primary key?
Yeah,
It's
add ID.
Okay.
Add ID.
Yeah.
Add
Okay,
ID.
okay.
Right. At default is passing in like the default value.
Oh yeah. The default is yeah.
Right, because if you don't feed it in, it's going to default. And in this case, you're just telling it to auto increment, so that's just a next val thing,
yeah.
right? And then you do Google ID, make sure that's unique, email, make sure that's unique, because I'm using OAuth with Google, right? And then just a bunch of stuff, optional names, so you can make something nullable just by question marking it, very typical JavaScript stuff. Timestamps, default now. And then here's the interesting thing about, so what it does here is when you want to define a foreign key relationship in Prisma, you actually have to put that relationship in the table that the other table is referencing. So in this case, what I'm doing here is I have sessions, and it's a session array.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that's establishing a one-to-many relationship between the user and the sessions,
Okay.
right?
How does Postgres store that? Since it's an object, a data type.
It,
I'm guessing Prisma does some kind of conversion.
yeah,
So
Some
it's-
kung fu.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm guessing it just still comes out as like some DML or DQL at the back, but in the front, this is just what we have to see.
Right, we just look at it like this. It's really nice because it's easy to organize, because I like having to specify this because it kind of creates this enforced like organization where when you're looking at it, you're going, oh, by the way, these tables are looking at this table.
Yeah.
I see, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you actually go down to the sessions here, in this case, I'm using a UUID. And the reason that I had to do that was because I was generating them on the front end, and there's front end
Okay.
code that relies on the UUID. So I couldn't auto-increment that and wait for the database because I needed it right away when I made it on the front end. Right?
Okay, yeah, it works out because then you get the primary ID right away.
Yep. And in this case, the way that you define the foreign key in session ID is you define user ID as int, and then you create this field, which you just call user, of type user, and then you specify a relation. You tell it what it references, you tell it what field in this table it applies to, and then you can pass in other options like, on delete, cascade, typical. Yeah, the usual stuff, right? And that's pretty much it. Like, I don't think there's really anything else to it.
I'm curious what happens when you scroll to the bottom. Huh.
What about?
I was wondering if anything had to be exported or imported into the files in which you plan to use these models.
No, you define it here, and then you run the CLI. I think it's been so long, like npx Prisma dev migrate or something, and then it generates the migration for you.
Oh, they're okay.
It does. It makes the migration for you,
Oh,
and then it pushes up
interesting.
the migration, and it applies it to the database.
Oh, there's your constraints there. There we go.
Right? So that was my very first one. And then, like, my latest migration here is non-null user chat tokens, because that was when I implemented, token counting for the users. So I just unnulled it. And I think that was because when I first pushed it up, I made it nullable because the users didn't have the data at first. The typical thing. Yeah, that's Prisma. And then all you do is just you initiate a Prisma client with a singleton, and then you just pass that into everything, and everywhere it can be used. So all of my API routes are importing that singleton and just using it. And the syntax for calling it is dead simple. Why am I trying to look at this when it's so much easier to just look at the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right?
No, what I'm wondering about, because I'm used to ORMs like SQLize, is the code has to be read for the models to be registered, and then you pass in the SQLize instance after those have been registered. So with this, what makes the interpreter or compiler read the prisma.schema file?
I don't really know.
That's the thing I'm curious
gotta be
about. It
honest,
kind of
like-
reminds me of a config file where like it's there and then it gets read when you
Yeah,
build.
I mean, it kind of just functions as a config file.
I see.
And then once you do the migration and you generate the client connects to the database, and it's connected to the database. So it's cool because it's type safe. You actually have those backend types being passed to where you're calling them, which is super neat. Because like here, there, I'm importing my singleton, and here's my find many.
Nice.
Right. I think that if I were to here, let's break it. How do I don't remember the combination for like bringing up the IntelliSense. Is it different on WebStorm?
We can check for it on the keyboard shortcuts.
Do you either of you guys know WebStorm?
No.
Okay.
Is it on here?
Isn't there just like a really quick combination to bring up the IntelliSense?
Oh, a lot of times you just
Like as
start
you're typing?
typing and then
Oh,
it'll
okay.
appear.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not used to using a discrete keyboard shortcut for it. And just wait there, like that.
Yeah, so it can
Okay,
find
great.
it, right? like I could do this with any of the tables.
Oh, okay.
Right, and that's the cool thing because it's all getting passed over.
That's
So
great.
that's what I love about developing with it.
Yeah.
Because you just have all of it. Like you remember the sessions table. There's also a conversations table. If I type that in, boom, it's right there. And then there,
It gets passed in as an object that you can actually call out.
right, and then there are your methods that just basically map to a bunch of typical SQL verbs, like create, find many, count. It's awesome. It also has an upsert, which I like.
Oh, that's convenient.
It just has its own
Upsert?
upsert.
Yeah.
Instead of insert?
Yeah, here.
Data insert, yeah.
Let me see if I can find it. If I go to Outline ID and look for the put controller, it's going to be here.
No, they have a method for that. That's convenient. Update, yeah.
Yep, update. Right, so what it's doing is, over here, put this in. It's great.
Nice.
It's great. So the DX is really nice. And it's just really nice how I can just move between the front end and the back end super quick.
And you can keep it architecturally in your mind more.
Yeah. So obviously this is going to be something that's a lot easier to make work on smaller projects. I think as things scale, you're obviously going to need to enforce a lot to make sure that this doesn't, fall apart and unravel. Because when you have all of this at your fingertips, it's very easy to just destroy something in the pipeline that just completely ruins, the whole domino effect.
It was way faster in iteration, though.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. So.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, this probably looks pretty rudimentary to you guys because you're doing pretty advanced backend stuff.
Web dev anything. So
Yeah, I'm not a web dev either, so this is pretty interesting, very exciting stuff.
Awesome.
They have written like one Flask or Django
Yeah.
web app like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh my God.
okay.
Oh man, I've looked at Django.
I think I used it once. No, Flask. I used Flask.
Yeah.
Once.
There was this is just a side note. I saw this really funny post on LinkedIn by this Singaporean influencer who, he built like meta.com. He's a pretty up there guy. He made this post talking about how the creators of all of these different frameworks weren't CS majors, right? Like Evan Yo, the creator of Vue, was an art history major or something.
Really? As a neuroscience major, this gives me hope.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Rich Harris, the creator of Svelte, he was a New York Times editor, I think, or something.
What?
Yeah, the guy who created
insane.
Svelte just worked at the New York Times.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
He made a whole web framework to make like the web part of the New York Times easier, and it just blossomed into a new super trendy framework people use.
Wow. That's amazing.
And the creators of Django, I think, were philosophy majors or something.
I felt that one.
Yeah, and I
I
was
don't know
like,
why.
that one feels true because I look at Django and I go, yeah, it looks like it was written by a philosophy major.
Wow. I had no idea. That's wicked. And how about React? I mean, I know it came from Meta, so.
Well, see, the thing is, I don't know who created React because they attribute it to Dan Abramov, but Dan Abramov himself says, no, I'm not the creator of React. So I don't know who really created it.
Okay.
So I'll just say it's Meta. It's just Facebook.
And they were a computer science major.
I'm pretty sure.
As an institution.
I'm pretty sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Because React used to be very different as well, right? How familiar are you guys with the front end of React?
I used it last time 1 year ago.
Yeah. It feels really weird, like
about you?
outlining the basics.
Never?
It feels really strange outlining the basics of React, because the world I live in, this is like
is
super
React,
common
right?
knowledge.
Yeah,
Right?
most of my friends who are web devs, which are most of them, this is just every day for them. So
Yeah. Why don't we do the outline is the most interesting one. So if we go to outline and
I didn't introduce myself, by the way. I'm Gabriel. Usually I'm the host of this meetup. Today has been a crazy day.
it's actually kind of a relief that this is such a low-key thing, where it's just a couple of you guys here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah, it is.
Is it usually much like a? Because I like obviously it's a very one-on-one, but
Yeah, it's really
usually-
cool.
Is it different?
Usually there's more of a crowd here.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time was pretty poppin', I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. This is like the lowest turnout, but this is a pretty good discussion. And I think in the future, I'm going to keep this podcast style going because it's
Start a podcast.
yeah, obviously.
It's honestly a relief for me because Gabe messaged me in the middle of the week saying, "Oh, hey, do you want to talk about your presentation on Saturday?" And I had such a crazy month that I totally forgot I had to do it. So we kind of brought out this
Format.
podcast idea just because it would be easier.
Yeah. 45 minutes into like, let's put this presentation together. I'm like, wait, we've been talking about your code for 45 minutes. let's just do that.
pretty much.
Way better.
Yeah.
So I think it's super comfortable.
Well, and it's also that, you know, I've been to a bunch of meetups for, like, I've been to a bunch of presentations for here, and it's always like this really buttoned up big PowerPoint presentation.
Absolutely, yeah.
I like them because it's a lot of information streaming in.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just want to show you code.
Yeah, and that's really what this is supposed to be about.
And
It's supposed to be very high interaction and more about the development community. Because when you do those presentations, it is a lot of stress on the presenter, for sure. And it's asking a lot when you're asking someone to come up here.
Yeah, and give a presentation.
And give a presentation, yeah. But it would be a whole lot better if we could have a lot more local developers just showing off their code.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I made this. Great. Now I know Brendan. I know he made this.
I want to see what you guys work on too, you know?
Okay, cool.
Might be neat.
Yeah. More down to show it like this.
Okay. All right, so outline, let's go to components. Okay, so if you actually look at outline ID, so this is going to be viewing an outline of a certain ID. So if we go to page.tsx here. Oh, and by the way, I love this convention too, loading.tsx. You can see all it is a loading spinner.
So
That's why you saw all those spinners.
Oh, okay.
Like, while the component is loading, this page renders instead of page.tsx.
okay, nice.
It's
nice.
great.
So you have a bunch of loading.tsx's?
And they're all the same.
Wow. Wait, why isn't this in component then?
Well, because it has to be put into each directory as something called loading.tsx. There's obviously a more efficient, drier, more programmatic way to do it. But the way that Next does it just makes it very easy to go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's what happens when this route is loading. Okay, I see it. So it's good DX.
Yeah,
It's easy to just go, this is what happens when this is loading.
definitely.
Because it's in the same folder as the page that's loading.
Okay, and are these the same, or are they specific to the page that they're on?
I'm pretty sure I made them all the same.
Okay.
Oh, but they can be customized based on the
Yeah, each one can be totally different.
They could be unique.
Yeah.
You could render a skeleton based on the page that's coming in. Like, you could do anything you want.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, it is totally
Make it
just
easy.
faster for dev to just get there. Like, up, copy, paste.
Yeah.
Oh,
Initially,
totally.
I had a bunch of skeletons that I had created custom, and I just realized the loading spinner was more than enough, and
For
I
sure.
wanted to move on. So,
Yeah. Done is better than perfect.
yeah. I also ask me how I feel about skeletons. I hate them.
Do you hate skeletons?
I hate skeletons.
Do you have one? Like a remnant of the ones that you made in the beginning?
I don't think so.
Oh.
I hate skeletons.
Faster the hell out of it.
Yeah.
don't want this
We're
to
gonna
be
make this better.
You know what?
Bye.
Actually, maybe I have the skeleton component still bumbling around in my UI folder.
Oh, I
here.
was gonna say this is a pretty.
Oh, I do.
shallow-
I need to get rid of you.
Oh, let's see it.
You're not doing anything.
This seems pretty simple. Is it just collapsed?
What do you mean?
Like I thought skeletons were pretty complex because you rendered all the right UI components in the right places, or the silhouettes of them.
So, I can get into this in a bit. My UI components, it has its own thing going on.
Oh, okay.
So first off, outlines. Let's go back to outline ID. Right. So here's what loads when you get page. Right. We actually had a conversation about the different front end frameworks.
Yeah.
Remember where we talked about reactivity? So you guys know about React. Do you guys know about any of the other ones?
I mean, I don't know if this is related, but like T3, Tobico, those are.
T3 is
The influencer?
like
Well,
Theo.
he's an influencer,
Theo,
obviously,
right?
but yeah,
The
yeah,
influencer.
Theo, yeah.
So that's based on Next.js,
Oh, okay.
which is based on React, right? So that's React. The T3 is, I think it stands for like TypeScript Tailwind TRPC or something. So it's like an RPC-based kind of thing.
I actually haven't heard of it myself.
I've never used TRPC, but you know, itching to try it.
So when it comes to the other frameworks, you mentioned them. So there's a couple others, just for the kids at home. So there's Vue, Svelte, React, T3 apparently, I've heard of others like EJS. But did you want to point out how this compared?
Yeah, we can do that. But point of
Or not,
order,
either way.
point of order, T3 is a full stack. It's a full stack of which React is a part of.
Sounds like Mern or something.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Mern, but it's its own thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah. EJS is not really a framework, right? It's a templating language.
Okay.
And I think that EJS gets used more on like traditional MVC server rendered stuff, where you're using that template to just kind of consume the backend and then serve finished files to the client, but it's all still happening on a server,
For sure.
right?
No clients have really anything. They're just like, it's just a view.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I haven't used it myself. I don't know if they have interactivity or if everything is a re-render like the old days. But EJS was great for that, when you just wanted to have a server to just serve stuff, right?
Great.
But React is totally client-side. You serve
It's
the JavaScript bundle and
It's
right.
JavaScript PHP. Yeah.
Next kind of feels very like that sometimes, because it's super opinionated. Right, so page. Right? React is basically components as DOM nodes. Right? And you can, in this case, I'm passing in params. That's taking in the outline ID. And what I love about Next.js is that simply by being in this square brackets directory, that is a param. And then you can just pass in that param.
Oh,
As a
Where is it?
Like that. Oh, so that square outline ID. Or the square brackets.
The square brackets, and then because you have page.tsx inside outline ID, when you define the function, you literally just go, all right, that's your param.
And that's, wait, is that your param or is that your params? Like, is it an array?
In this case, it's not.
Okay. Or would it be if you nested a whole bunch of routes and you included a param, like a square bracket route, in multiple of the nested routes, would they all show up here in this object that you're creating?
Good question. I don't know.
Because I'm wondering,
I
because
should find out.
it says params, and I'm sure you read this from some sort of documentation, right?
Yeah.
So why is it plural?
Maybe I just named it that way. I don't know. No,
It
I'm
could
pretty
totally
sure.
be true.
Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enforced. I have to check.
No, I'm
Okay.
curious. Sorry.
No, that's a great question. I should know that, and it's kind of sad that I don't.
No worries.
All right, check the user. Makes sense, right? Redirect to homepage if there's no user. And redirect to just the basic outline route if there's no param. This is kind of interesting because the params have to be passed in as a string.
Uh-huh.
But then I'm turning it into a number and then checking if it's not a number.
Okay. Yeah.
So
What would
don't-
happen?
I don't remember why I did it that way.
Well, what if it were empty?
I think the reason I did it this way was, well, if it were empty, it would be not a number,
Right.
right? Like,
No, yeah, I guess null is not enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
right? I think the reason I did it this way was because the outlines are stored in the database with int primary keys, right? So they're supposed to be numbers. So if you go in and you just type a bunch of rando characters where the params should be, the app should just go, no, redirect to the outline.
Say that again. If the numbers are completely random and aren't found in a database, it redirects to.
Because the params are going to be numbers every time.
Right.
If you're passing in just a random string of characters, and you try to parse int that, you assert number type.
Trying to catch any
Right.
entities.
Right, you're catching. You're
Well, it
catching-
redirects to. Okay, for
It
sure.
always
That makes sense.
redirects to- So that's just the catch. Is everything is redirected to outline.
It'll go to
And
just outline.
It goes to, okay, so I'm guessing that is nested in the underscore components in the page in there.
So outline here,
It'll always go to page TSX, or what's rendered there.
yeah.
Yeah, but here I only see the page TSX underneath
I think you might be
outline AD.
You might be catching something that I probably deleted and should probably put back.
Oh, really? Well, I guess if I could.
No, you're right. There's old code in here,
I see outline here.
right?
But then underneath it,
Yeah, there's no
there's
page TSX in it. That's old code then. There used to be a page.tsx there, and I need to
Oh.
go through and fix this.
I didn't mean to point that out. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
This is what we're here for.
Your debugging is working. Yeah.
This is what we're here for, and this is why I should write more tests.
Yeah. I expect payment.
All right, I'll find you after the
For sure.
Right. And here, I'm actually doing a database call.
Okay, Prisma.out. Wait, isn't this in the front end?
So this is what we talked about, right? I'm actually doing a database call in this component,
And this isn't server-side rendered?
but this is server-side rendered.
It is?
Yeah, this one is, because here's the absolute bizarre thing about Next. There is a directive you can put at the top.
No way.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's just server-side rendered?
So it's weird. Next.js tries to server-side render as much as it can. Use client says that it will be hydrated with JavaScript after it loads. But that means that it's a component with logic that runs in the client. If you do this, there are things you cannot do, like make database calls.
But it also sounds like if it were server-side rendered, it wouldn't be hydrated. Is that what you mean?
No, yeah, if it were server-side rendered, it would just be served static once it's done.
So you can't serve a reactive component from the server?
No, but what it is that you can serve, okay, so let's say that you have the root,
Right.
which is server rendered, and then you have the branches that are server rendered, and let's say this is a branch. This
Right.
is server rendered. But if I have like a leaf node, I can make that a client component. And the leaf node can be called by the server-side rendered branch. Right? So this won't work.
The leaf node, which is client-side rendered, can be called by the server-side rendered branch.
Right.
So does that mean that the leaf node is now rendered on the server because it was called by the server-side branch? Oh, no. Sorry.
No.
So, I was thinking of it the wrong
So
way.
what's happening here?
It means that you just get redirected to the client-rendered thing.
Well, okay, it's like a subcomponent. So like you have, right, you make this database call, which you can't do if it's a quote-unquote client component, right? And yeah, there's another bit that I have to fix, redirect outline. And then container, which is just a container. I guess I can actually show this. The container is really simple. It's just
neat.
It's just a bunch of code that makes it not ugly.
Yeah,
but
it's
the key here,
Tailwind.
yeah, it's Tailwind. The key here is children. So the cool thing with React is that the children prop is basically saying this contains other things, right? So you just pass that in, boom, no issue, right? But here's the cool part: builder. Builder is taking in two attributes, but we'll call them properties because we're doing React.
Okay.
Right. Outline ID, which is just the ID that it fetches from here. So you're grabbing outline and then you're going to get its ID and the user. So here's the thing. I can't call the user validation from
The front end?
the builder because the builder is a client component. So I have to call the user outline from here, which is a server component, and then pass it down into the builder.
Oh, interesting.
So the builder is a monstrosity of a component, but you can see the user is being taken in. So where builder is being rendered it's being given these properties from where it's being rendered. And then those are being passed in kind of like as arguments into the component function.
So, user, I guess if this makes sense, but I guess earlier in the stack, it gets called in much earlier, so the data's there, then it goes down.
Right. And React is pretty famous for this one-way data flow, where stuff can get passed down.
But okay.
It can't get passed up. The only way to pass it up is if you have a global state solution, or if you, put it in the URLs or put it in local storage or something,
Right.
because then it's accessible by anywhere, because that's just browser APIs, right?
Right.
But within the React framework, you can't pass data back upwards. It only goes down.
Do you have events in React?
What do you mean?
I guess in Vue, you can have things very much like a mouse click. You can have things react to events. And you have like @click. Or you can custom define your own event. Like I have one where I have a timer component. So I have an event that it emits be called end. So then on the parent component, I have it listen to that component, that child component I just defined for the end event. And then on that end event, something happens. So all I mean to say by that is by using events, I can communicate data upwards. So does React have events like I clicked on this component did this, and then another event is emitted from that component?
So you're not really passing the events upwards. So what you're talking about, just like event handlers.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. Yeah.
What you would do is you would pass, so you would define a change handler
Right.
along with that state, and then you would just pass those things down. So you'd pass the handler and the data
Oh,
down.
you pass the handler down instead
then-
of passing the event up.
Right, and when you do things with the handler, it will affect
The things upstairs.
the things upstairs.
For sure.
You're not
Okay.
actually passing
Passing
stuff
data
back
up.
You're
You
not
pass the
really,
handler down.
Right, you're passing the handler down.
It's just kind of like
Yeah.
like a rope, like pull on this when you want something to happen.
pretty much.
Okay. I guess if we're using like the rope and you're down in a cave analogy, or down in a well, it would be the opposite. I'm used to like shouting upwards rather than passing a rope downwards.
That makes sense.
Was that too abstract?
I think I get what you mean.
You get it?
Sort of. I mean,
I'm thinking like if components were wells and you're passing things down into a well,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's passing down like a signal wire for
Pretty
you to
much,
like
yeah.
tug on to communicate with the people upstairs.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I use Vue.js a lot of the time. So when I use events, it's kind of like the component that's deep down in the well, shouting upwards, "Hey, I need help," or "Hey, I need some food," or
Right.
"Hey, pass down a sandwich," things like that.
Yeah.
So I hope we could all relate to going down into a well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. Happens to me. Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, you guys do a lot of object-oriented stuff, or?
Yeah. More like that.
Yeah,
Cool.
like inheritance,
And yeah, inheritance.
right?
So I do
Yeah.
want to point out that we are coming up on time. So it doesn't mean that we have to stop, but the recording's probably going to stop. So I want to
Yes.
point out, like, is there anything that shouldn't be left unsaid or undemonstrated before Ryan turns the camera off?
Oh, I just appreciate that you guys wanted to listen to me ramble for an hour.
We appreciate you.
No, it was super cool. Definitely.
The product itself, I think, is super exciting and super interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like you have a solid value proposition that, I don't know, maybe if you could get in contact with Wizards of the Coast or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That could be really cool. I'm excited to see like where you take
sites
this.
that sell the D&D campaigns too.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
said. So the
Wizards
site,
of the Coast is whatever, right? They're a pain in the ass to deal with, but there are tons of other sites or helper sites.
Yeah.
I know during COVID there were all the kind of virtual map and campaign
Yep.
tools that are
Yep.
sold. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, there's other marketplaces.
yeah, so Brendan actually showed me some of those tools. I think it's a very great fit. But on its own, I think this could raise a community of dungeon masters that like to use this.
That's what I'm trying to
All
do.
on its own. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm in touch with some podcast people. I have a couple of play testers,
Yeah?
app testers. Yeah, just volunteer stuff. It's not. It sounds more impressive than what it is. It's people I know who I'm like, hey, check this out. Oh, okay, here's my thoughts.
That's great.
But I mean, that's all you need in the end.
Yeah, that's feedback.
So it's a continuous thing. I actually haven't looked at this in a couple of months because I've just been working on other projects. But
Really?
I don't have a day job. I have a bunch of freelance and client work. Like I was working with Josh on a project. Yeah, I too am looking for a job. So, yeah,
That's like a club.
solidarity.
Yeah, yeah.
There are many of us.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
Oh yeah, as we said on LinkedIn, there's thousands, tens of thousands of us.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, part of this was actually, well, like I said, I'm trying to make this meetup a little bit more interactive. So one, this was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
Never
I love the
seen
way you
this
talked
kind
about
of,
everything.
like I've seen plenty of presentation style, and then I mean, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of pressure to run on those, but that's doesn't have that informal, doesn't have this level of connection. Like it's not that kind of conversational style. And it's a different way of running things, but this is like, oh,
Would you guys say
actually
you?
get to talk to you.
Would you guys say you actually liked it this way?
Yeah,
This
it's
was
really
way
good.
Yeah.
better, much more
Oh,
engaging.
that's so
Yeah. And dude,
heartening
you-
to hear.
You didn't just talk to us about what you did. You talked about how Prisma worked,
Yeah, and yeah, there was
how
a lot,
React
yeah.
worked,
you
and
did it
how
really
Next
on the
worked.
spot. I mean, this, role reversing. I know I would be kind of hard pressed beyond just saying, oh, this is the thing I've worked on, to then switch over to, hey, here's a quick tutorial session on this part, and this
Right.
is the relevant part. So that was great.
Awesome. That's really,
Yes.
really nice to hear. Sometimes I'm very afraid that when I talk, I make no sense.
No,
So
very straight line.
A lot of sense.
that is awesome. That is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's really great.
I didn't even get a chance to go into the UI framework that I was using.
I was curious about it. What is it? Daisy? Or as a mix?
So Tailwind is the foundation,
Right.
and then ShadCN as a component framework changed with Daisy classes.
You did, yeah. Daisy on ShadCN. That's
So
what it
if you
was.
guys are not familiar with that, like the quick rundown is, you've heard of Tailwind maybe?
Yeah.
Right? Tailwind utility classes, right? That's why the HTML, or in this case the JSX, looks horrible, because I have 20 classes in every.
But no CSS files.
Well, the root CSS file that defines the global variables
Right.
that you can then pass in to the config. They just released a new major. I haven't upgraded to it because there are a lot of breaking changes.
Yeah, that was just in January.
Yeah, there are a lot of breaking changes, so I haven't bothered to get around to fixing that yet. But there is a component framework called ShadCN that is based off of a set of primitives called Radix UI. So those are primitives with like basic component logic. Like they have a primitive for like a drawer or an accordion or a drop down with no styling. And ShadCN is kind of like pulling those in and creating React components that has its own opinionated take on how to use those. And the cool thing about that component framework is that you have access to the code that runs them. Like it's not sitting inside of your node modules
Yeah.
that you then have to like figure out how to change.
Right.
Right? You have the code. So you can go in. And I actually pulled in what I call Bootstrap for Tailwind, which is Daisy UI. So you can go BTN, BTN primary, right? But it's using Tailwind under the hood.
Right.
So I'm able to put the Daisy classes into the ShadCN components. And then because of a utility function that runs in the class name value, I can overwrite any of those where I call them. So
Because you're using both.
yeah, because I'm using both, right? Daisy UI was written so that you can write Tailwind and it will override Daisy UI. Like the way that it
Great.
functions internally in the CSS is that it puts the Daisy UI stuff before all of the classes in the cascade.
Yeah.
So as it comes down, you can overwrite it with any Tailwind that you want.
That's great. That's so easy.
So you have Daisy UI replacing the default classes in a component library that pulls from another set of things.
Yeah.
And then where I call those things, I can say, no, actually do this.
Right.
So it's a cool thing because I basically get like a design system that I can then just change however I want.
That's brilliant. I use another one called Prime Faces. Oh, for me it's Prime Vue, but they do Prime React, and
I've heard of Prime
they
Vue.
do it for Angular too. And I'm really late to the party when it comes to ShadCN. But everything is stuck in the node modules when it comes to Prime. So when I actually discovered that it's just yours, and you could even just change it all on your own, it's pretty magical. I found a video of the founder actually defending his product against Schatzki, and I'm like, well, I don't know, man. This is pretty sweet.
It's interesting because people talk about like what happens when Schatzki releases a new version. You have to go in and undo all your changes. I'm like, that's
No,
not
you
different.
don't.
Well, it's not different than when some UI framework releases a new major with breaking changes anyway.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Like-
You're right.
Like here I have the code. I know what's changed. It's right in front of me. Instead of guessing what changed because of the behavior of how you have to like use them in
Right.
the node modules.
Right.
And it becomes a pain in the butt, you know.
Well, what I see is that you get the component, and then you get to change it however you want. So any developer would just make their own components from the raw framework, like say React or Vue or whatever, and then they could just make their own component library. I've talked to other developers here, like Sunny, he did that. And I guess with Schatzki, it's just a shortcut. You got the components, you can customize them however you want, now they're yours, and that's it. End of story. And then the update, they say, we have new components. And then at that point, you could really just say, I have my own now. End of story.
yeah.
I have my own now.
Yeah.
I'll update them how I wish.
Yeah, I just like having them. The other nice thing, well, I'll give you a really quick rundown. I know
Sure,
we're running
sure.
like out of time, but so if you go into not here, but
Collapse app? Oh, that's all the way down.
no, it's a sibling of app. I forgot. It's not in app. So in the UI folder, let's here accordion. So this is a Schatzki component. It is very good front-end engineering. Yes, this is what like proper React looks like.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah. New React is a lot nicer because, like, for example, this forward ref method, they're getting rid of that. They're going to deprecate that in future versions. That's like passing like a DOM reference down, but like from a parent to a child.
Yeah.
But they used to do this weird thing where it had its own special syntax. Now they're just turning it into a normal property,
Okay.
so that you don't have to do this kind of special wrapping that you had.
Oh,
to
that's
do.
great. That's great. And what is it that you get? You get access to the parent, or?
Okay, so you know, use state. Like the way React handles state.
Yes.
When state is updated, it triggers a re-render of the component. Ref is kind of like that, but it doesn't trigger a re-render.
Okay.
So there's a value that you're just kind of referencing. That's why it's called ref,
Right.
right? So it's just there for you to just have it and look at.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the point of use ref. That's the really TLDR version.
Right. Right. And then forward ref.
Forward ref is when you want to pass ref from a parent to a child.
Gotcha.
And I hate it, and I'm glad they're getting rid of it.
Okay.
Because it's just boilerplate, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I found React to be.
Eventually, I guess, deprecate and refactor, so.
Yeah, the version they have now, you don't have to do that anymore,
Yeah.
but it's still there. So they're kind of giving us the nice little overlap. They're going to deprecate it in the future.
Neat.
I'm trying to think of it. Oh, no, let's look at the buttons. This is kind of the best example of what I'm talking about, and you can go see my type errors, too.
Yay!
Look, there's...
It compiles?
Hey, WebStorm doesn't throw me the type errors. VS Code does. Okay, we're not going to look at that.
Oh shucks! I might not have installed TSX on this.
So, each of these is a Daisy class. I've extended this. It used to be like when you install it from Schatzki, there's just like 3 of them, and it's just a couple of options. I just put all the Daisy classes in there.
Oh great!
And then whenever I call the buttons, I can pass in these options, and then I can still overwrite them, and it's wonderful. It's
Okay,
so
word.
easy. Yeah.
Bootstrap, baby.
Yeah, Bootstrap for
Yeah.
Tailwind.
For sure. For sure.
Yep. It's nice.
Well, good approach. Thanks
Well,
for talking.
That's my front end. Sorry, very unstructured.
I think it's pretty structured. I like the strategy. It's as simple as it could possibly be. Right?
I mean my talk.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. You could totally be a host yourself.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
Well, thanks for coming out. I'm gonna say we're gonna wrap it up here, and then we'll know where to cut it off. And now we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been Sin City Programmers. I'm Gabriel, with my guest Brendan Schatzki.
Hello.
Yeah. reporting from Las Vegas. And I guess you guys should say your names too.
Oh, this is Adam Montano.
This is audience member Ron.
Audience member 1.
No, Ron.
Oh, Ron. Nice, nice.
Yeah, one.
I'd like that. Audience member 1. Actually, it'd be really cool to, if we do this again, to have a random audience member just sit in the front.
Oh yeah.
That would be
makes
me,
it
actually.
more, I guess, personal. But,
Absolutely.